I think it's fair to say that we have been heartened by progress in the oil salvage operation in the last 24 hours. To give you a bit better indication, 1 p.m. yesterday we had 337 tonnes. 24 hours later we've got 130 more tonnes off, despite losing about 7 hours in the Bruce for the change out of the pumping system. So you're up around the 7.5 tonnes an hour, which is a considerable improvement as a result of that new pumping system. As a result, we now have around a third of the oil in those tanks off the ship, which is encouraging. And we are not far away from collecting the 500 tonne mark, which is also encouraging. But I would again underline something that Bruce said, is that this is a very ongoing and precarious situation. All it would take would be to blow a generator, and then you've got to take one out, fly one back over the ship, collect it all up again, and you've lost several hours. So don't do what I like to do, which is just calculate your number and calculate it out over a number of hours to work out how soon you get it all off the ship. It doesn't work like that. It does take a significantly longer period of time. But I think we can be reasonably confident at this point, as people watching on, that the 770 tonnes in the port number 5 tank can be recovered, provided the weather stays with us, and the weather forecast is pretty good for the next few days. But it is still highly challenging around those other tanks. The settling tanks with 228 tonnes, they're still working on how they're going to move that with the transfer pumps, but also in particular the 350 odd tonnes in starboard number 5. And as you heard Bruce say, you've got men diving in dark, murky passageways of oily water, trying to get themselves into a position where they can put these cofferdams in place, pump out that oily water, then get themselves where they can leverage submersible pumps into position so they can get access to that. Now, all of that, as well as being risky, is going to take a considerable period of time. And to me, that's the one that's most worrying in terms of the time that we may have before you get a subsequent weather change. But of course, at this stage, the weather forecast is good, and long may it be so. So it is a very challenging job. We are not out of the woods with the oil yet. And I think the reality of it is, I'm sure it's true, whether you're in the media, whether you're in the community, or whether you're in the oil response teams or the oil and wildlife teams, whatever you're doing, everybody is keeping a very close eye as to what's happening out on that ship, because that will determine how this thing unfolds. And I've been testing again today, and I'm absolutely confident that the salvors have an absolute resolve to finish this thing successfully. They can't control all of it, so they may or may not be able to do so, but they're certainly not short of determination to make it happen. And while some of us, in fact probably most of us, were watching a certain rugby game last evening, they were doing what we would hope, which is being out there and actually doing their best to make this thing run as fast as it possibly can.